I never liked Kabuto. He always felt weird to me. When I ask myself why, I think it's because he seems so shallow. He worked for Orochimaru, but I didn't understand his real reason. Even after Orochimaru died, he didn't seem to care much. He just took Orochimaru's cells and did his own thing. Another thing was those glasses. He had that smart and arrogant trope. And for me, that trope is annoying. But my view on Kabuto changed when I looked deeper. I realized his shallow nature was actually the point. That's when my appreciation of his character began. Today I want to explore Kabuto's character in depth and explain how I went from disliking him to seeing the beauty in how he is written. If you enjoy these kinds of videos, please subscribe and like, I'd really appreciate it. The first thing I want to go over is how his backstory plays into his character. Kabuto's backstory is sad even for the standard of Naruto, which is really impressive. I want to point out that his backstory begins with Itachi saying something really important. Those who cannot acknowledge themselves shall fail. Those words are important for the message of Kabuto's story, but I'll touch on that later. The backstory begins with Kabuto saying, "What do you really know about me? I have been pursuing who and what I am in my own way for the longest time." We cut to a kid version of Kabuto sitting near a tree asleep. As a lone adult and group of kids show up, they mention how Kabuto must have come from that city where the recent battle came from and how Kabuto was on the verge of death. Here we get to understand that Kabuto, as a lot of people in Naruto, was a victim of war and a victim of the cycle of hatred. As a nun heals Kabuto, there's a unique twist to Kabuto's story. He doesn't know his parents or his name. He doesn't remember anything. As Kabuto narrates, that was his oldest memory, and from the start, he was nobody. It transitions to the orphanage where the nun tells Kabuto that she is his mother, and it's okay to ask for anything. Here, there's two forms of symbolism I want to talk about, which are his name, Kabuto, and his glasses. The name Kabuto was given to a child who had no name. It became the first layer of his identity. It did not come from within but was gifted by his mother figure. This reflects a constant theme in Kabuto's story. His sense of self is built on others, not himself. Kabuto, meaning helmet, is exactly what he becomes, a shell meant to protect him. That meaning is tragic. The helmet shields him but also hides who he really is. His name becomes his last defense against his emptiness. Without his name, he has nothing to cling to. No true self beneath the armor. The glasses hold deeper meaning, and we see this more throughout Kabuto's character. Once he's given his name, he smiles. He feels a sense of security, and that name becomes his helmet. Here we begin to understand the orphanage's struggle. Kabuto cannot sleep, so he gets up and overhears the other nuns talking. They explain how they can no longer get funding from the nation or the village. The orphanage has been scraping by and wants to negotiate for support. Kabuto is then caught sneaking away and is scolded for it. They bring him to a clock to teach him when he should sleep. Kabuto cannot see the clock and his mother notices this. She gives him her glasses, and for the first time, Kabuto is able to see. She tells him to be careful with the glasses and that the lenses are the correct strength, but in reality, they aren't. This becomes a second layer to his identity. As I mentioned before, Kabuto believes in looking outward rather than inward. His impaired vision symbolizes his flawed view on the world, a child who cannot see clearly. Kabuto goes on to narrate that his name is symbolic and his glasses are a tool. He admits once again that from the very beginning he was nobody, he had nothing. Even after getting the helmet and glasses, the older Kabuto still considered himself to be without an identity. These helmets and glasses still didn't hold any weight for the goal he was searching for. The irony I want to point out is that he's saying this while he's still wearing the very name and glasses. He still can't fully agree with what he's saying. The flashback continues as Kabuto goes on to become a medical ninja. He follows after his mom, who is also a medical ninja. This also sets the foundation for another aspect of Kabuto's character. He's a parasite, constantly clinging onto a host to find an identity. Here is the first interaction between him and his future host, Orochimaru. Orochimaru tells Kabuto to become a shinobi, but ignorant of what's to come, Kabuto says no. He just wants to earn money for the orphanage. A cute detail is that Kabuto repays his mom by buying her new glasses. We cut to it and you guessed it, Danzo. Whenever something's looking good, you can always expect Danzo to mess it up. Danzo tells Kabuto's mother it's been a while since he last saw her and calls her by her name, which is Nano. She explains how she cast that name away a long time ago. Nano questions why Danzo is here. He talks about how the nation and the village have reached a conclusion. Nano was actually the top spy in the espionage unit. He goes on to explain that Iwagakure is planning attack, he wants Nano to infiltrate the village and verify that information. He explains that it's likely going to be a long-term mission because if the intel is correct, he wants her to find the exact details of the attack. She says she doesn't want to do it, but Danzo says Nano's old name, the Wandering Nun, is the only person he can trust. There is not one person in the Foundation who possesses her level of espionage skill. What makes this worse is that if she refuses, the money will no longer come to the orphanage. They threaten to take her funding and the children if she doesn't agree. Nano sadly is forced to accept the deal. As once again we see Danzo's philosophy, he explains how she failed to cut her emotions. Kabuto turns out to overhear this conversation and Danzo notices. Danzo goes on to explain that he will take one of the children because he lost a subordinate. He tells Nana to ask the children which one of them wants to become a shinobi. Kabuto takes this offer and says he's suited to be a shinobi, that he wants to hone his medical ninjutsu. Something to note is that Tsunade does say that Kabuto is more skilled than she was in her prime. We see Kabuto grow and the missions he takes on until one day, Kabuto is surrounded. He looks at his stopwatch and remembers the clock from that day, wishing he was back with his family at the orphanage. He gets attacked and then kills the attacker, only to find out it was his mother. He tries to heal her, but she, confused, asks Kabuto why he is healing her. To Kabuto's surprise, she asks him, "Who are you?" He says, "It's me, mother," and takes his glasses off, telling her he's Kabuto and that he will save her. But once again, she asks, "Who are you?" Kabuto is beyond shocked. He's frozen, unable to move, and two shinobi come in and he escapes. He goes near a lake and starts talking to himself. He asks why his mother didn't know who he is. If his mother didn't know who he is, then who is he? If she forgot him, she who was the foundation of his identity, then who he was up to this point was pointless. This is where his identity crisis truly magnifies. He takes his glasses off and wonders once again, "Who am I?" Then Orochimaru appears. Orochimaru says he's been watching Kabuto and his mother the whole time. He says he will tell Kabuto why his mother came after him and reveal everything he knows. Orochimaru drops a truth bomb. The Foundation wanted to get rid of both of them. Nano and Kabuto were too good as spies. This connects to a broader idea in the Land of Waves, how clans with Kekkei were eradicated because they had power. They were used, and once their power became a threat, they were killed. It was the same for Kabuto and his mother. He knew too much. The tragedy kept piling up. Orochimaru tells Kabuto that it was decided from the very start that they would kill each other in a mutual strike. Danzo revealed to Nano right after Kabuto left the real reason why he left. Because he wanted to sacrifice himself so the orphanage would get money. Nano wanted to liberate Kabuto from this. As a condition for accepting the deal, Danzo ordered her to assassinate a certain person. As you guessed, that person was Kabuto. Kabuto, bewildered, asked Orochimaru why Nano didn't know it was him. They were sent into different territories so that they could never meet, and over time, Nano was made to believe Kabuto was someone else. Gradual brainwashing. Kabuto attacks Orochimaru, screaming that he was so close to finding out who he was and what he was. But now, he doesn't know anymore. He had lost himself. Those glasses linked him to his mom. This name was his and his alone. His mom wasn't supposed to forget him, and he asked one more time, "Who am I?" Orochimaru tells him that neither those glasses nor that name will help him find out who he is. Orochimaru then tells him something really important. If you're satisfied with what you have right now, just add them to yourself. Orochimaru also says that he is the same as Kabuto, searching for who or what he is. I'll touch more on their parallels later. Here Orochimaru gives Kabuto validation that he's talented and needed by Orochimaru. So Orochimaru becomes the next host for Kabuto, gives Kabuto a new name and says, "If you want to know who you are, follow me." This begins a dangerous cycle. After Orochimaru's death, Kabuto implants Orochimaru cells into his own body. He then adds Suigetsu's Jugo and the Sound for every one of the cells into himself. Keeps adding external things, hoping to find out who he is. But that was the problem, as Kabuto eventually realizes it was never enough. This is where we can truly understand the meaning of Kabuto's glasses. His glasses represent his impaired view of both the world and himself. He believes these glasses will help him see himself more clearly, but in reality, they only blur who he really is. He keeps focusing on Nano and other external things, but never turns inwards. He builds a barrier by seeking external validation from the outside, and the glasses symbolize that. The more he relies on them, the blinder he becomes in his search for his identity. This is deeply ironic. Glasses are supposed to help you see better, but for Kabuto, they make his true self even harder to see. This contradiction is the heart of Kabuto's character. A man who thinks knowledge and power will reveal who he is, yet every new layer hides him more. His glasses are a false clarity. They keep him trapped in this belief that adding more names, cells, and roles will complete him. But in truth, they just cover up the emptiness he refuses to face directly. In the end, Kabuto's glasses show that his vision was never the problem. It was his refusal to look at himself without a mask, without a lens, without someone else defining him. Now I want to quickly touch on some parallels. The first obvious parallel is Orochimaru. Just like Kabuto, Orochimaru is endlessly searching for who he truly is. He's never satisfied with one form or one answer. Like a snake shedding its skin, Orochimaru constantly discards old identities and adds new abilities, bodies, and knowledge. Believing each layer brings him closer to truth or immortality. Kabuto copies the exact pattern. He clings to Orochimaru as a host for a purpose, then repeats the same cycle, adding more cells, powers, and mass, thinking it will make him whole. Both men fear facing the emptiness inside, so they collect external things to hide it. In short, Kabuto is a reflection of Orochimaru's philosophy: endless change on the outside, but no true acceptance of the self inside. This makes Kabuto, both as Orochimaru said, his greatest experiment and his mirror. Next is Naruto. Kabuto tells Naruto about the pain of having no identity, and says Naruto felt it too. Kabuto asks, are you Uzumaki Naruto, or just the nine-tailed fox? Before Naruto, the struggle wasn't about the beast inside him at first, it was about being hated and rejected without understanding why. He grew up alone with no parents and no clear reason for existing. He didn't know why everyone despised him, he just knew he was unwanted. We see the same question in the fight with Gaara. Why am I here? Who cares if I exist? Unlike Kabuto, Naruto found meaning by forming bonds and proving his worth through connection. Kabuto, though, stayed trapped. He searched for himself in others but never faced himself. This parallel shows how two people can feel the same pain yet choose completely different paths. Finally, the most important parallel is with Itachi. Itachi is the one who takes Kabuto's glasses off, and the irony here is powerful. Kabuto had Sage Mode and some of the best sensory perception in the world, yet he still clung to those glasses, proving they symbolize far more than sight. They were his shield from the truth about himself. So why Itachi? Why was Itachi the one who was able to remove Kabuto's glasses? Because Itachi fully accepted who he was. Despite being branded a traitor and a brother full of hate, Itachi never let others define him. Deep down, he knew he was a shinobi of Konoha and above all, Sasuke's loving brother. Kabuto is the complete opposite. He let every mask, every role, every borrowed power define him. Itachi sees his flaws and knows that Kabuto's real prison is not physical, but inside his mind. That's why Itachi traps him in the Izanami, a loop forcing Kabuto to face himself again and again until he accepts the truth. The Izanami is the perfect mirror for Kabuto's life, an endless cycle of chasing an identity, getting close and losing it because he never looks within. By taking off those glasses, Itachi breaks that cycle and frees Kabuto from the blindness he chooses for himself. Here is where Kabuto's conclusion finally becomes clear. He questions where he went wrong and realizes that all he ever truly wanted was for someone to be there for him, to acknowledge him, and to appreciate him. This is where Kabuto and Itachi's parallel shines the most. While speaking to Sasuke, Itachi talks about himself, and their stories mirror each other. Itachi admits that he should have acknowledged and accepted himself. If he had done that, he would never ever have to lie to others or to himself. He explains that if you lie to others or yourself, how can you be trusted or trust yourself? Those lies are what keeps people from seeing their true selves. Kabuto was trapped in the same delusion, surrounded by lies about who he was, clinging to false identities. So was Itachi, until death freed him to tell the truth and accept who he was. Only then did Itachi find peace. Kabuto needed the same, but his lies and masks blinded him for too long. We see a glimpse of Kabuto's brother at the orphanage, still waiting and wondering when Kabuto will come home, showing that Kabuto always had a place to belong. The final point comes from when Kabuto saves Sasuke. He admits that he had stopped acknowledging himself, and that was what allowed Orochimaru to take advantage of him and make him lose who he was. The Izanami forced Kabuto to accept reality and remember where his true home is. Now, from the bottom of his heart, Kabuto wishes to protect his home he had forgotten. This is the deeper meaning of Kabuto's character. Throughout Naruto, one of the core messages is that true strength and purpose comes from bonds, from connecting with others and being acknowledged. But Kabuto's story is a tragic twist on this truth. His whole life shows what happens when that bond is never genuine or is taken to the extreme, and when someone relies completely on external validation instead of building an inner sense of self. Kabuto was always desperate of someone to define him. As a child, he clung to Naruto's kindness. As a spy, he clung to countless false identities given by others. Under Orochimaru, he clung to being useful. He piled on more names, more faces, and more abilities, hoping that if he collected enough, he'd finally feel complete. But the more he added, the more hollow he became. Kishimoto uses Kabuto to show a truth about people. If you do not face yourself, no one else's praises, titles, or acceptance can save you from feeling lost. Just like Naruto at the Waterfall of Truth had to confront his own darkness and accept it, Kabuto needed to confront the reality behind his mask. But he kept running from it, hiding behind stolen strength. This also connects to a real human truth. We all wear social masks. We act confident when we feel insecure. We pretend we have it together when we feel lost. We sometimes become what others expect just to feel wanted. Kabuto is this idea taken to its limit, a man who becomes everything but himself. His irony is powerful. He has sage mode, perfect sensory abilities, vast knowledge, yet he couldn't see the one thing that mattered most, his own true self. His glasses are the symbol of this tragic blindness. In the end, Kabuto's story tells us strength drawn only from the outside is unstable. Masks can protect you, but they also bear you. The people you chase for validation may leave you or forget you, but you cannot abandon yourself, and real acknowledgement starts inside, the courage to see your flaws and accept who you are. When Kabuto finally realizes this, when Itachi forces him to confront himself through the Izanami, he sees that no power, no borrowed cell, no title could ever give him the wholeness he was seeking. Only honestly with himself could. So Kabuto's tragedy becomes a lesson for us all. We must pause and reflect on who we are and what our purpose is. It is through that honest self-reflection that we can confront our insecurities and begin real growth. Kabuto's life is a warning that without this, no amount of borrowed power will ever fill the void inside. That's how I began appreciating Kabuto's character. If you liked this video and watched all the way to the end, comment what you liked about Kabuto and this video changed your mind on him. I would appreciate if you could like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys another time.